it's at this point I think it was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
You always judge. When you are alone behind a computer, you must make a decision and decide. But this was.
But I think it's very interesting if you translate a poem knowing someone or you know nothing about. You don't know even who's the poet.
Yeah,
so that's your interpretation.
Yeah.
Just is your interpretation and your dialogue to the poem.
Yes, it is.
So
it's just the other way of looking at it and the other way of working. Huh?
Yeah.
It's, your position changes completely, of course.
Thank you.
Any other opinion from the translators, maybe? A lot of you here.
I have a silly question.
It's okay.
You have this poem in the booklet about finding a poem, about dying. And of course, it seems like the meaning of the poem goes beyond the anecdote of finding a poem and then learning it by heart. But you were just saying that you learned some poems by heart. So I was just wondering if there was a true anecdote behind that, and if you actually found a poem in somewhere and learned by heart and was related with dying.
No, it's I made it up completely.
It's always silly.
But what? No, but I was thinking about finding poems. When I was writing poetry when I was a student, I didn't publish poetry, but I wrote poems, and then sometimes at night I would go out I studied at the University of Utrecht, and I would go far away to a street, and then in the middle of the night I would put my poems into post boxes of people without my name on it. And I was thinking, the morning people find a poem, they have no idea what it is. Still there, maybe there are some people there who found it. I did that quite often.
You're worth a fortune now.
Well, I don't know.
Mogoče kratek prevod torej teh treh vprašanj, oziroma dveh vprašanj. Prvo vprašanje se je glasilo, ali ni morda nevarno na nek način poznati pesnika in biti v kontaktu z njim, kadar prevajamo njegove pesmi. In Matejin odgovor je bil, da je morda, oziroma obrazložitev tega vprašanja najprej, da je morda bolj pomembno, kaj misli pesem, ne kaj misli pesnik, torej da spostavimo dialog najprej z pesmijo. In Mateja je rekla, da se seveda s tem strinja, da vsekakor najprej potrebno vzpostaviti dialog s pesmijo in nekako posvetiti sam, kar je tudi naredila. Je pa prišlo prav v tem specifičnem primeru do situacij, ko je pomoč avtorja zelo prav prišla pri razpoznavanju nekih pomenov teh večpomenskih besed. In seveda se oba strinjata, da je prevod v prvi vrsti tudi na nek način interpretacija pesmi, da nekaj osebnega tudi prevajalec vanjo vloži. In tudi morda je pojasnila, da v tem smislu in ni avtor povedal, kako naj prevede pesem, ampak samo povedal je kontekst, v katerem je nastala, in je na ta način morda nekoliko olajšal delo. Je pa seveda zelo drugače, če pesnika pri prevajanju poznaš ali ne. Drugo vprašanje je bilo, ali je morda pesem, ena izmed pesmi, ki je izdana v tisti knjižici, nastala po resnični anekdoti. Pesem govori o tem, da je našel neko pesem o umiranju, pa je rekel, da ni, pravzaprav se to ni zgodilo, je pa povedal eno drugo zgodbo, da ko je bil študent v Utrechtu, je nekoč po noči ljudem v nabiralnike metal svoje pesmi brez podpisa in jih verjetno s tem zelo zmedel. Mateja pa se je pošalila, da so verjetno danes že vredne celo bogastvo.
Any other questions? If not, just one more from me. Not the last, but one before the last, a poem here in this collection that we can read in Slovene is happening just around this place here. It is entitled in Slovenian on the way and o price, if I said correctly. And you cycle around Ptuj, and yesterday when you were reading it in Ljubljana, the audience, of course, loved it. Could you tell us the story behind that poem?
Yes, it was 12 years ago. A Dutch travel agency which organizes travels for people more walking and cycling and so on. And in different countries of Europe, they wanted to make some propaganda for their agency, and they asked 10 photographers to make one of their trips. And each photographer should make 4 photographs on this trip, and each one should ask a poet to join him or her on this trip and to write 4 poems, and then afterwards all the poems and the photographs will be published in a book, and that would be propaganda for this travel agency. And so a photographer asked me if I would like to join him, and we looked in the catalog, and we could decide ourselves which trip we wanted to make if some of the other participants hadn't chosen it yet. And we chose a trip through Primorje, and so we went by train from Holland in 2000 to Halbenrijn on the border of Austria, and there they had some bicycles, and also the agency had seen to it that our luggage would be transported to a hotel next, so we just had to cycle, and we did 40 or 50 kilometers, and so we spent the night in Lendava, in Ormos, in Murska Sobota, and also here in Ptuj, and then we came back to Radkersburg to Halbenrijn, and that was a whole week, and it was very nice. It was in October, and there were apples all the way. There were apples, you could just pick them up while riding your bicycle, and it's not a very difficult part of the country to cycle in, and we were not good cyclists, so at the same moment we would get off our bicycle and walk to the top of a hill and so on, and it was a great trip, and that's when, and then I had to write 4 poems about it, and but the first poem was about a flat tire that we had on the first day, and the second poem was about that it was not raining, that we were afraid that it would start to rain. But then the one of the poems was about that we wanted to cycle on forever and ever, because it was so nice when we were going to Ormos, from Lendava to Ormos, and we passed a place called Jerusalem, which we liked the name of that place, and Ljutomer, and we came to and I knew 2 words in Slovenian at that time. It was really true, because I knew them from a Russian film. And we came to a restaurant, and I looked at the name of the restaurant, and I said to my friend, "You know what the name of this restaurant is?" And he looked at it. No, I said, "It is called Little Heaven, Malirai." And I thought, I know the word, because it's almost the same in Russian. And there was a church there, which was on the border. I like that story too, where Croatia and Slovenia always fighting about the church, who was the priest, who was going, and then the Pope had to decide who was going to read Mass in the church. Many of you probably know the story about it. So we had a great time, and then I thought I must put one of these poems into this collection here in Slovenia. So that's the story to it.
Are you tempted to repeat this song?
I wish, yes. I wish I could do it again. Yes.
But not these days in this hot
No, not
weather.
so hot.
Okay.
It was in October, and the weather was nice. So yeah, no, not in these days.
Torej, predzadnja pesem iz te zbirke je nosi naslov Na poti. Dogaja pa se prav tukaj okrog Ptuja, oziroma v bližini Ptuja, in z njenim nastankom je povezana zanimiva zgodba. Namreč pred 12 leti je neka nizozemska turistična agencija želela narediti malo reklame, takšne inovativne za svoje potovanja, za svoje pakete. K sodelovanju so povabili skupino fotografov in jim naročili, da si izberejo potovanje, na njem naredijo 4 fotografije, s sabo pa povabijo pesnika, ki bo napisal 4 pesmi, ki bodo spremljale te fotografije. In to vse skupaj bi naj bilo izdano v nekakšnem katalogu, ki bi bil neke vrste propaganda za to turistično agencijo. Skupaj sta se s fotografom, ki ga je povabil k sodelovanju, odločila, da gresta v Prekmurje in sicer sta ga v enem tednu v oktobru prekolesarila. Prtljago so jima peljali lepo od hotela do hotela, tako da sta kolesarila ležerno in pri tem zelo uživala. In ko je bil soočen z tem izzivom, da mora napisati 4 pesmi, je bila prva o počeni gumi, druga o tem, da jo je strah, da bo začelo deževati. Tretja pa je torej ta, ki je vključena v zbirko, da si želita, da bi lahko kolesarila večno. In sicer je bilo to občutje, ki ga je nekako čutil takrat, ko sta kolesarila skozi Jeruzalem. Zelo jima je bilo všeč ime tega kraja in hkrati se je pošalil še, da je čisto slučajno razumel, poznal ravno tisti pravi 2 besedi v slovenščini, zaradi katerih je lahko razumel ime ene izmed restavracij, ki sta jih videla po poti, Mali raj, ker je to nekoč slišal v ruskem filmu in čisto slučajno je to v ruščini prav podobno kot v slovenščini. Na potovanju se je imel čudovito, zelo lepe spomine ima na tisti teden in zato se je odločil, da bi bilo lepo vključiti to pesem v zbirko, ki jo je pripravil za Slovenijo.
Last chance for questions? Yes.
Maybe about your children's stories. They are very beautiful. They are the world of itself and the characters are very special. So you invented, in fact, the new world. Can you explain us a little bit how you do children's stories?
Well, my children's stories are of a later date. I started to write them in when I was already 40 or so, and I started to write them after I told stories to my daughter before bedtime, but when she was growing older, I stopped it, and I wanted to write some of those tales, but I made up. Before I wrote the very first story down, I thought, well, you can write about animals, but you need some rules. And so I made up very specific rules, and that is that there is only one animal of every kind, only one squirrel and one elephant and one ant. And then the second rule was that all the animals have the same size. So an ant and a fly and an elephant are all the same size. Otherwise it's too complicated. And then the stories also had to be more than 1 page and less than 2 pages long when I wrote them. And there were no animals in it related to human beings. So no horse, no cow, no pig, no sheep, no rabbit even, and so on. All these, and chicken, and so none of them occur. And so there is a world of these animals which is completely distinct from my own world. And then because they're all separate, all of them one, there's no hierarchy. So each animal is completely independent and relates on the same level with every other animal. And there are some more rules and so. And I started to write stories, and just like I write these poems with the first line, I make variations and so on. And then I think now I'm going to write about birthdays, and then I said, now this is the birthday of the elephant, and the birthday of the camel, and the birthday of the giraffe, and I make up stories. And then I think, well, now I make stories about what else. Animals that are depressed, and then and they're all things that are occurring, and that has gone on since then. And I never thought when I first wrote them that they even would be published, but I was lucky to have already to be published as a poet, and I had so I had a publishing house, and then my publisher. I told him, he said, let me read it, and so on. And then he read them and he published them. So I was very lucky. And then later on they became quite successful, and so I continue to write them up till now. Although many times I thought, not anymore. I have written so many of these stories. Enough, it's enough. But then in the summer comes, almost all of them I write in France in the summer, in my holidays and so on. And then even this year I wrote some more in the summer, in July.
Don't stop.
Yes. Okay.
Torej, vprašanje na temo otroških zgodb, po katerih je tudi zelo znan, sploh v Sloveniji, so zelo posebne. Pisati jih je začel dokaj pozno, šele pri 40 letih. Zatem, ko je pravzaprav nehal govoriti, verjetno je hčerka toliko zrasla, da je nehal govoriti te pripovedovati zgodbice pred spanjem in je potem pomislil, da bi jih bilo vseeno fino zapisati. In si je za to svoje pisanje izmislil posebna pravila, cel kup pravil. V zgodbah se pojavlja samo ena žival vsake vrste, torej en slon, ena mravlja in tako naprej. Vse živali so iste velikosti, kar pomeni mravlja je enako velika kot slon. Zgodba mora imeti več kot eno stran, ampak manj kot dve strani. V njej ni vključenih nobenih domačih živali, torej konjičkov, kravic in podobnih zadev. In ta svet živali je popolnoma ločen od človeškega sveta, torej one živijo neko svoje življenje in med sabo nimajo hierarhije, vsi so samostojni in nekako enakopravni. In tudi tu, tako kot pri svojih pesmih, rad dela variacije, se pravi, naprimer, piše celo serijo zgodbic o rojstnih dnevih, pa ima enkrat rojstni dan slon, potem kamela in tako naprej, ali pa o depresivnih živalih ali pa kaj podobnega. Ko je začel pisati, se ni mislil, da bodo kadarkoli sploh objavljene, ampak je vseeno založnik, ki ga je takrat že imel, prosil, da mu jih pokaže, prebral jih je in bile so mu zelo všeč, tako da se je odločil, da jih bo izdal in postale so uspešnica. Tako da pravi, da pogosto pravi, da jih je že toliko napisal, da bo nehal in da jih ne bo več pisal, ampak vsako leto na dopustu v Franciji poleti napiše nove zgodbe in tudi pobuda iz občinstva je prišla, naj nikar ne neha pisati.
May I add one more thing? That was quite interesting to me. One of the rules that I set out before I started to write is